Hi friends, it's been a little while since I've been on here. So many things have happened. Let's see, I became a grandma, not just once and not just twice, but 3 times. I have 3 little grandbabies and my youngest got married too. Okay, so you have been asking me, I posted this, what is this called? A trivet or a hot plate, where you put your hot plate on. I posted this on my Instagram and on Facebook, and some of you asked me, how do I make it? And then I also posted this. It's like a little trinket holder. How do I make this? So here I am. I'm going to show you how I make it. All right, so some of the things you're going to need. You're going to need some fabric of your choice, whatever you want. You're going to need some of this. It's called fusible fleece. And what it is, it's like a very thin batting with a little bit of a glue adhesive on this side, only on one side. If you have some that already has it on both sides, you can still use it. This one happens to have only glue on one side. So what I did is I went to my kitchen and I found myself a bowl and I traced it on my fusible fleece, okay? And I just traced it and I went ahead and ironed it on. And so now it's stuck. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take both sides. I'm going to, what I want is I want 2 circles, one with the fusible fleece and then one without the fusible fleece. All right, so I went ahead and cut it. So I have 1 circle with my fusible fleece and the other one without. And honestly, what you want to do is make sure that your circle is bigger than what you want it to be, okay? So, happens to be about, it's a little bit bigger, okay? And the other thing you're gonna need, of course, is some rope. And I happened to find this at Walmart, and it was just, it was like under $7, something like that. What you want it to do, what you want it to have is, you want it to be a cotton clothesline. I don't know if this is backwards or not, but you want it to be cotton and 1/4 inch in diameter. This is 3/16, so I think it's a little bit smaller than a 1/4 inch, but anyway, as long as 100% cotton. This one is 100% cotton, but it also has a polyester or inside, if that makes sense. And that'll work too. And so what they've done is they went ahead and just burned the inside of it, and that's fine. So you're gonna need, of course, a sewing machine and some pins to help you start the circle. All right, let's get going. Okay, please don't mind my horrible manicure. It is what it is today. All right, so you're gonna go ahead, and how you're gonna get it started is you're going to start curling it into a little tight circle. And you wanna get it as tight as you can, and I'm using my table to keep me flat, and that is super important. And so you're going to coil it around about a little bit. Let's make sure it's really tight, okay? You're gonna go a little bit, maybe 1.5 inches. All right, so that looks about good to me. And so I'm gonna take my pins and I'm going to put them right straight through, all the way through the middle. Okay, and I'm going to put a couple of them, just like this, all the way through, and that is just going to hold it. Maybe one more. Let's put one over here. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew straight across like this, like in an X. And what I want to do is using a straight stitch. So I'm going to go straight down this way and then straight down this way, and you know, a couple of times. Let's move over to the sewing machine. All right, so two things to remember. You got to make sure you're very careful not to sew over the pins. And the other important thing is to keep your rope on the right hand side, because as this grows, you don't want it to be interfering with the rest of your machine. So we're going to go ahead and just sew a straight stitch, and I'm going to move the pins when I get to that area. Remember, this is a straight stitch. All right, so we're going to remove some of the pins just back a little bit. They don't have to come out all the way. I just want them to be out of my way while I'm sewing. And so I'm going to just turn it and go back the same way. Okay, and so now that I know that that is kind of held, I can move these pins out of my way. And I'm going to go ahead and back stitch and cut my thread, because now I'm going to sew in the other direction. So now I'm going to come this way, making sure that it's nice and flat. Let's go back. Don't worry about this for now. Just go back and then back stitch and trim your threads. So go ahead and trim off these little extras. Whoop. So now that you've sewn this is not going to come undone. And now we can start our, one more? No. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and zigzag all this around. So I'm going to change my straight stitch to a nice wide zigzag, and I want it to be semi-narrow. So this is what my settings are on my machine. Here's my zigzag, and the width is 5.0, and I think I might want this at a 2.5, which gives it just really tight stitches. All right, so let's get going. All right, so because this is kind of loose here, I'm going to start back here. So this is where it held it together by that straight stitch. I'm going to start back here. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm going to make sure that my rope is on my right hand side, and my needle is going to go on this side here. Let me point with this. My needle is going to catch this rope and then the other side on this side. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what we're at. Yep, it's going to catch it. So my machine will back stitch, and then I'm going to go slow and just make sure that it's catching both sides. So the feed dogs are pushing it, and with my finger here, I'm pulling it towards me to make that circle. If you need to go super slow, stop and then adjust. Stop and adjust. And you're just going to keep going. Stop and adjust. Make sure though, when you do stop to adjust, that your needle is down. All right, so here you can see my stitch. It's catching both the inner one and the outer one. So if at one point you feel like, oh, I missed it, it's okay. You probably did catch it, you just can't see it, like right here. It's hard to see, but So you're just going to keep going. Just make sure that you're catching both sides. As it gets bigger, it becomes a lot easier. Now, I'm not pushing this towards it. I'm just letting it feed on its own. And we're just going to keep going. See, my left finger is pulling towards me to make it, to make sure that it's going in a circle. You know what? Honestly, I think I like a longer stitch length. So I'm going to go to 3.0. Let me show you the difference. My machine will show us exactly what it looks like. So here's 2.5. It's a little too tight. I'm going to loosen it up. So I'm going to go 3.5. See the difference there? 2.5, 3.0. I think I like the 3.0. Let's try it. But maybe at the beginning, the 2.5 is good. All right, let's see what it looks like. I'll come around the corner and I see if I like it. Yeah, oh yeah, much better. Much better. All right, let's keep going. Another important thing is that you don't want to lift this at all. This lifting is actually going to cause it to bowl. And that's fine if we want to get to this part, but we need it to stay flat for the very beginning to create our bottom base. So make sure that you're nice and flat when you're doing this. So don't lift up just yet. All right, so this is a great size for a coaster. So if I was making a coaster, I could just stop here and I could leave it as is, maybe turning this in to make a little loop like I did with my other two that I've shown you. But we're not going to stop there because we want it to be a trivet or a bowl. So let's keep going. So remember to keep it as flat as you can and don't get that temptation to lift it up here, okay? Keep it as flat as you can. Let's keep going. Okay, so I think I'm at the point where I want to add my fabric. So we're going to go ahead and backstitch and cut our thread. And now let me show you the best part of all. Okay, so we have the size that we want, and we're gonna take our fabric and we're going to put it right down the middle. Another thing we can do is we can take our top fabric and we're going to find the center by folding it, and then we know that this is the center, and we can see a little bit of where the center is, and I'm going to just make sure that we've got that centered, okay? And well, we forgot this, didn't we? Okay, so that is my center. Where is my center? There it is. Okay, so how in the world are we going to get this rope on top, right? Because that's what we did here. We have it on top. Well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a slit and we're going to cut. We're cutting to where it meets here, okay? And so now what we're going to do is we're going to place our rope on top, just like that, okay? Just like that. We're going to use a couple of pins, making sure it's flat, right? Remember that part. And we're going to pin straight in. And we don't need a lot of pins. This is just going to help us make sure that we're flat, nice and flat, all the way to the bottom. And just stick those pins in. And now the pins are just there for a little while, not for the whole thing, okay? All right, so now we are going to start a little bit before. See if I can find my thingy. Here it is. My pointer. All right, so we've sewn all the way to the edge, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to start a little bit before that. We're going to start right here, our stitching line, and we're going to catch the fabric side and the exposed rope side. All right, let's go do it. Okay, so here we are. My rope has been stitched down right up against here, but I want to make sure that I catch this before. So I'm going to come right before, right around here, and I'm going to start my stitching to catch both the fabric side and the exposed rope. So here we go. And we're going to turn, keep turning. Remember the fabric side and the rope side. Okay, so we got to where our pin is. Just take it out. It's only helping you make sure that it's flat, okay? If you feel like you don't want it or need it, don't use them. All right, let's keep going all the way around. So now I don't have them, but you can feel with your fingers how tight you are, and if you need to move it closer, okay? Let's go. Ooh, we're getting there. Look at this, we're getting here. All right, so let me trim this little string. Where's my, here it is. Okay, so now we're going to alternate. Instead of having our rope on top, we're going to do it under. So just lift it up, tuck your rope under, and again, you can pin. I think the pinning helps just because it just makes sure and secures everything in place, making sure everything is nice and tight and flat. Okay, so now the exposed side is going to be on our left-hand side and the fabric on our right. So let's keep going. Make sure that this is nice and tight. Don't, make sure you're not tucking the rope under this one, okay? And we're just going to go all the way around. With my right hand side, I'm making sure that the rope is nice and tight. If you feel like you need to pin, do it. Okay, let's keep going. We're almost to where we tucked it under. All right, so we're almost to that part where we're going to put the rope on top. Right, making sure that this is nice and tucked under like this. Okay, so I want to put a pin here, and then I'm going to use my little thing here to hold it, making sure that we're going to catch all of that. Okay, so now my rope, my exposed rope, is on my right hand side, and we're just going to keep going. So we're here, we've made it. And now what we're gonna do is we are going to, I'm gonna get here, or maybe I'm gonna stop here and backstitch and trim it off, okay? All right, so we've got all this fabric left over. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna trim it right up against this rope. Let's look at the back side. Oh my gosh, look at how cute that is. That's very cute. So let's go ahead and just trim all this off. Okay, now that it's trimmed off, I'm going to continue sewing and get it as, keep it as flat as possible for a couple more rows. And then we're gonna show you how we get that bowl look. So if I wanted to make another trivet, I'm just gonna continue to keep it as flat as possible and make it as big as I wanted to. But for this purpose, I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna make a bowl. So put it back under your needle, a little few stitches before where you ended, just to make sure that it catches it all. And then we're gonna keep sewing. Okay, so we've got to the point where now I wanna turn this into a bowl. Like I said, if I wanted to make another trivet like this, I would just keep on going, right? But we want to make a little bowl or a little trinket holder like I have here. So at this point, I'm going to lift this up, and I know my machine's in the way, but I'm going to make it like this, okay? So I'm going to hug my machine here. The, what is this called? I don't know, but you know what I'm talking about. Just hug into it. And we're just going to sew. Remove my pedal. So one thing to remember is that you want to continue to have the same hug the entire time, okay? So with my right hand, I'm making sure that this is nice and tight up against the bowl, and then with my left hand, I'm just making sure that it's hugging the machine here. Okay, so I've been sewing, and as you can see, it's starting to lift and bowl a little bit. And now at this point, you can keep going as much as you want, and then it'll just continue to curve up and flatten out. So you'll have a flatter side to it. There's a couple of things that you can do too. You can lift this up to where you have it like this, right? You're gonna tie it off here, back stitch and cut your thread, and then you're gonna lift this up and then start here. And then you can form sort of like a handle to it if you'd like. We're not gonna do it with this one, but that's another way. And then when you come around with your next side, you're gonna stitch along that lifted portion. But we're gonna just keep going. Well, my machine just told me that my bobbin thread is low. So I know that I can sew for a little longer, and I'm gonna do that. And then we're going to cut our rope and make a little loop like this so that it's not just so we have a finished edge. So let's see if we can get to this part here where we started. And that's where we're gonna keep our little loop. Will we make it? I don't know, I'm scared. Okay, so let's cut it off. We're gonna cut it off here, and I cut it off on an angle, and then we're gonna turn this and tuck it in right here. And we're just gonna sew. And then we're gonna turn it. And then we're gonna try and sew some more. Let's see if we can get it. Yep, got it. All right, so that doesn't look bad. Okay, so let's trim off these. So this is the back side of it, and we're gonna trim off these little guys here. Let me turn those on. What I like is that it's really sturdy. So here's my new little trinket bowl. Turned out really nice. This is my original one. So it's smaller, but definitely this would be such a cute gift, wouldn't it? Two different sizes, and then our hot pad. So as I was mentioning earlier, if we would have stopped here, I would have had a cup for, a coaster. There it is. Okay, let me show you a close-up of how I finished it off. Remember, I looped it around, cutting the end on an angle, tucked it underneath, and then you saw me, I was just sewing, turning, sewing, but it doesn't look bad at all. And then let's look at the stitching here. I was able to catch all of it, and in the areas that I didn't catch it exactly from the front, it didn't look like I was catching it, I did. Okay, so here is where you split the fabric. And the reason why I use 2 fabrics is because you're gonna be able to see the fabric on this side. So not only do I want it to look cute on this side, but it doesn't look faded like fabric does on this side. Oh my gosh, my nails. Oy, oy, oy. Anyway, you didn't come here for my nails, you came here for this. Thank goodness. All right, so here's a close-up of this. Okay, I'm happy with it.